So you were saying that for the November mission?
Yeah, this is the station configuration that the orbiter will dock to at that time. And on that flight, they'll bring up this logistics module and a few other components in the orbiter payload bay. In fact, what's going on the last flight? You just remember that last month they brought up the Japanese module.
Right.
And there it is.
So we're saying it's the detail here is all the way down to the labeling?
Sure. You go in here and you see the handrail numbers.
And that's important for...
Well, another thing that you get out of this is obviously when you go out to the neutral buoyancy lab, it's a big pool, 120 feet by 120 feet by 40 feet deep. But even that isn't big enough to hold the actual configuration. You have bits and pieces of it out there, and not necessarily, you may have all the components, but they aren't all tied together correctly. So one thing you do, and the way we work in conjunction with the NBL, is if a crew member is going out to the NBL to work on a particular task at a particular work site, even though you have a high fidelity mock-up of that work site out in the water tank, and for instance, if it's at a particular location on the truss, they can mock up that section of truss and have a high fidelity mock-up, but when you stand at that work site and look around, you see divers, you see bubbles, you see the size of the pool, you see all the extra hardware in there that's holding up the hardware. All the things that you're not necessarily going to see in space. Well, we're not limited or confined to that. We can mock up the actual configuration as it would be on orbit, and we can put the EVA crew member at that particular work site. For instance, find one. There's a lot of these. Work interface points. Essentially, it's a socket. The crew member will plug in a foot restraint, and then that'll allow them to stand at that particular site. So we can actually figure out which one that is. 15. Find that particular work socket. There it is. Take a articulating portable foot restraint and stick it there. And we can also stick the EVA crew member out there. And then actually articulate the foot restraints. So we could, actually set up the set up his work site or where he'd actually be working. He can come in here, put the helmet on, stand at that site, and look around and see that the solar arrays are to one side of him or behind him. The airlock is off this way, and this is what's going on with the arm. And he can also figure out how he got from the airlock out to that particular position. So what you do is come in here, and here's the airlock. There's another buddy hanging out there. But he can actually trace his path along the handrail, or he can actually sit in there with the helmet on and gloves and crawl along this path. So he can figure out how he got from the airlock out to the particular point where that work site is. And then, like I said, stand at that particular work site and look around and figure out what's going on around him. So then, when he goes out to the NBL, he can do the high fidelity part of his task out there and sort of ignore all these other things that are going on around him, and in the back of his mind know that, if I'm doing this, if I get in trouble, the airlock is over here, and this is going on, and this is where I'm standing in the overall configuration. You see that the station is quite large, so standing over here is a whole lot different than standing over here. So they do that type of familiarization with what they're doing, where they are configuration-wise with respect to what they're doing before they go out to the NBL and do it.